I was just wondering, I've not actually interviewed any mompreneurs. Have I said it correctly with my Australian accent? Is that how you say it?
You know, I've heard mamapreneur, mompreneur,
Okay.
mom entrepreneur, so I think you can say it any way you'd like.
So in Australia, we don't even spell it that way. We spell it M-U-M. So that's why I wanted to clarify the pronunciation. So I'm just wondering what it's like being a mumpreneur, and how do you manage to balance it all, and do you have any biases that you've noted from people in the entrepreneurial community or the investor community?
Sure, I think there are a few questions rolled into one.
Yeah.
I do think there are some biases toward mothers in general, in business in general, and in the venture community is probably not, they're not separate from that at all.
Yeah.
I think there tends to be a fear that moms aren't going to have the same amount of time as a single person or someone without children to spend on their startups. And to that I would say everybody has something else that they're working on. I think by definition, if you're a successful entrepreneur, you're most likely an overachiever.
Yes.
And so whether you are a marathon runner or a sailor, or you're sitting on boards of other startups, or you're trying to work on a charity and solve world hunger issues, you're doing something else anyway.
Yeah.
And so for a mom, your something else happens to be your children.
Yeah.
When I had kids, it wasn't the business and technology and entrepreneurship that took a sideline. It was the other things I was doing, right? I didn't spend as much time at the gym. I didn't compete in triathlons anymore. I didn't do painting and things that I normally did.
Right.
So it changes, but it doesn't mean that you necessarily have less time to work on your business. I think there's also talking about work-life balance. You switch how you think about things. And I've sat in a number of conferences where there'll be a panel on work-life balance, and you do, I think, unfortunately, hear a lot of women who are in director positions or CEO positions that will say it's not possible to do both. And I think those always come from someone who doesn't already have kids. And so they feel like, I know what I'm doing now. I know how hard it is. I know how much time I'm spending. There's no way I could have children. And that's probably true.
Yeah.
In that mind frame and in that model that you've set for yourself, you probably couldn't also have children and do a good job. And I think that a lot of work-life balance is being very creative, intelligently creative about your organization and changing your model about how things work and when you get things done.
Yeah. And of course, as a coach, I know in our training years ago, we were taught that actually it is impossible to multitask. And I said, I've got my hand up, and it's like, but however, women do tend to have to do that, no matter what profession they go into. So I do see that. I know I did that when I was raising my own children. I did that by myself, and I had to run a business as well. So it's you just have to do it, really, don't you?
You do. You find a way to make things work, and I think again, it's about changing the model. It's being willing to erase the lines and redraw them and step outside of the box. And sure, you might not be able to do the 10 a.m. to 4 a.m. work in an incubator with a bunch of people, but you're also not doing other things that take away from other entrepreneurs, startups like so Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, you will never find me out at a bar from 9 a.m. to 2 a.m.
Exactly.
I'm back at my computer working very hard and progressing on the company, whereas my friends, my single entrepreneur friends, will be out at the bar drunk tweeting.
Point taken.
Some of it is I'm sure helpful to their business and networking, but a lot of it is just drunk tweeting, right? And they're having a good time, and it's great. But those are hours, a lot of hours during a week that moms are spending, or people who have other obligations are spending on their companies.
Yes,
And
yes.
so I think it's a misnomer to think that just because you have children that you have less time to spend on your company. It's I think if you were to compare productive hours,
Yes.
it would be very similar. It's just they're happening at different times and in different ways.
That's really great advice. Thank you very much. And I was wondering if you could talk a bit about your own startup, and also whether or not you have raised venture or
Sure.
angel investment for that.
Sure. So the name of our company is WeMakeItSafer, and we build web applications to identify recalled products in homes and in marketplaces. And we alert consumers and sellers if a manufacturer or the government recalls a product or there's a safety issue with that item. So it's web applications around product safety.
Great.
We have raised money. We raised angel at the beginning of last year, and we kind of fell into it. We weren't looking for money. The money sort of found us.
That's great.
I had started the research and development for We Can Make It Safer when I was a grad student at UC Berkeley.
Okay.
And as such, every project for any class turned into a project for We Make It Safer. So I always bent the rules a little bit. The assignment would be do this, and I kind of say, what about this? And it would tend to work, and we'd mold it into a project for We Make It Safer. So as such, there were a lot of classmates and professors that got to know very well what I was doing and very helpful. And so after I graduated and started working on it on a more regular basis, I would occasionally send out emails to the people that were involved and say, just to keep them apprised of how things were going. What I didn't know is one of the professors that was involved was an active investor. And so after one of these apparently particularly interesting emails that I sent out, he called me and said, what are you doing for funding? And so it just sort of happened from there, and he introduced me to other people, and the round happened in that way.
Wow.
As far as gender issues, I don't think that it would have mattered whether or not I was a woman in this particular case, because
Yes.
what they were excited about was the technology.
Yeah.
And they understood it because they'd been involved, at least my professor had been involved from the beginning in Solid Evolve. He knew it was breakthrough technology
Yes.
that had several market applications across different industries. And so he was very excited about the market opportunity and the technology. And so I don't think that gender played a role there.